Maybe we don't know who our dad is, or we don't understand why our family left this country, or we have a photo, or we have nothing, right? Back in year 1 of doing this, I did this totally alone. I recall sitting alone late at night with my big clunky laptop computer. We need to be a part of that. We need to place ourselves, situate ourselves in those places that we are researching. So I went from doing it alone to being part of these many communities, and that is when everything changed for me. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel, where I love to talk about American identity and family stories. And if you're new to the channel and you've seen maybe a couple other videos I did over the last couple weeks, I accidentally had my lights set up wrong. So it was a very like Blair Witch Project kind of thing. So
you look terrible.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you'll see them. So hopefully things are a little better. But I just decided to just roll with it. I'm like, listen, I already put in the work, so I'm just putting it out. But I have been doing genealogy for 22 years, but I am not a genealogist. And that was never my plan. But I started doing genealogy as a teenager. I was 16 years old. I didn't know I was starting genealogy. I had no idea. I came across a picture at my grandmother's house that I didn't totally jive with the family story. And it opened up everything. It was like Pandora's box. And so I want to just have a sit down with you where I can share the differences between what I was doing in year 1 of my journey versus now year 20, 21, 22. Genealogists are incredible, amazing. And I have definitely hired and worked with many on this journey, and I'll get to that. But if you're not a genealogist, that's okay. Like, you don't need to be one to start this process. And so my perspective is going to be my own experience of not being a genealogist, just being someone who is curious about my family story and where I came from. And before we start, I have a free download I want you to have. It's something that I created while I was working on this process of putting together my family story. I'll let you know how to grab that at the end. Year 1, 16 years old, it started with a simple question. I found a picture, a wedding picture of my mom's grandparents. It was her grandma Louise and her grandpa John. Grandma Louise was supposed to be French. And at this point, nobody had taken the DNA test or anything. I mean, I was 16, so 22 years ago. And I don't know, she just didn't really seem French to me. She's from Louisiana. And that picture was really the spark. And I don't know what the spark is for you, but pictures, I think usually they can kind of highlight some of the inconsistencies in the family story or what we don't know. And so 2 decades later, that photo has evolved from a question to a deep, abiding passion. Back in year 1 of doing this, I did this totally alone. I recall sitting alone late at night with my big clunky laptop computer, the glow of the screen. I have really messy notes that don't make any sense all around me. And I'm wondering, how far could I really go with this thing? Year 20, I still have really messy notes that don't make any sense, but I'm not doing this alone. I have connected with a community of different kinds of people. I would say people who share my ancestors, who are also doing the work, who've put in a lot more work than I have. Shout out to Alex in particular, Alex Lee from Alex Genealogy, my cousin Louisiana. And I have connected with people in the community. It's not just me sitting alone studying things from a distance, but we need to be a part of that. We need to place ourselves, situate ourselves in those places that we are researching. So I went from doing it alone to being part of these many communities. And that is when everything changed for me. It was amazing. Year 1, I would say that my early days, I was very naive. I'm piecing together a puzzle without really knowing what the picture was going to look like. I gathered bits of data without fully understanding their significance, missing the broader narrative. For instance, when I'm talking about my great-grandmother Lola, I had a feeling that she had lied about her ethnic background, her ancestry, and I was right. But I didn't know why. I mean, I was raised in upstate New York. I didn't know jack squat what was going down in Louisiana. I'd heard about Jim Crow, didn't understand the one-drop rule, didn't understand any of this stuff. And so year 20, with 20 years under my belt at this point, I'm seeing the bigger picture. And this is true for every ancestor that you research, wherever they live across the globe, whatever time period, that each piece of information we're getting is part of a larger historical narrative that is not about our family, but it's about like a community experience. And so I think now at this point, I'm learning to appreciate the facts, but more so the implication of the facts, how personal decisions are influenced by larger societal forces. And it's giving me a more nuanced picture of my family as I'm studying them, when I'm researching, well, why would someone leave this town and go over here? And instead of just trying to get all the dates right, really taking a step back and saying, well, if I don't understand, I need to research what was going on at this time in this area. And man, it has brought my ancestor stories to life for me in just an incredible way. I'm learning how to put myself in other people's shoes and kind of walk through their experiences that I will never go through, but try anyway. And that was a very different place than when I had first started this journey at 16. Year one, another thing was that I really relied on just ancestry.com. That's all I used. I didn't really know there was anything else. Like, I mean, when I was 16, I was like, I mean, we're talking early 2000s, like 2002 or something. So really, there wasn't a lot going on back then. But year 20, I've become much more resourceful. And I'm also realizing that you can do things the wrong way. Sometimes I literally Google what I know about my ancestor, and I do that, and records pop up in places I didn't even know they were located. And you could never even find them. Like you would really have to do it this way because Google cached things and I can search. And so I'm realizing that there are so many more resources out there, and you can do things in an unconventional way. Now, I know genealogists do things in a conventional way, and thank God for that. I'm so thankful they do that. But when I'm sitting at home and I'm not trained, I'm not any of that stuff, I'm just looking. And so just being real with you, that being unconventional has paid off in dividends for me. In my first year, I really felt like I was groping in the dark. I didn't know what I was doing, when I was going to find it, what do I do with it? It was like a piecemeal thing. And now we can't control really how we're finding information, right? Like if we find something, it's kind of like striking gold. But I have had more of a plan. And that's something that I actually created some templates, and I want to give some of them to you for free right now. You can have the link for that below. I'll leave it. But of how I organized collecting family stories from my living relatives, writing down what I know, writing down about relics in the family and family treasures, and kind of collecting all of that stuff into one spot so that I don't lose track, and I can later on, if I hear something, I'm like, you know what? I think I remember hearing something about that, and I can go back to my notes. And so I'm not super organized in this process, but at the same time, I definitely don't want to lose work that I've already put in. And so I would love for you to download those. I have a course called Be a Good Ancestor. And so the first part of the course, I just decided to make totally free, and the rest of it is helpful, but you can use the first part of the course over and over again. If you're interested in downloading that, go ahead and grab that right now. Keeping an open mind has been so helpful for me because family history research is so unpredictable. You are definitely going to find out unexpected stories, and you'll probably learn something new about yourself in the process, which is what's so interesting, because everything you learn about all these other people is really a mirror of looking back at yourself. This is where you come from. And so it's been beautiful, and it's helped me to love my neighbor better and be more empathetic and understanding to people's stories and what their families have gone through. And so I think it's really just one of the best hobbies ever. So thank you so much for being with me here. And if you'd like to watch my docu-series Finding Lola, which was really what kicked off this channel, I will link to that below. Otherwise, let me know where you're at in your family history journey. Who's your favorite ancestor you've been working on so far? Let me know, and we'll talk soon.